Trisha Paytas was going down memory lane in her recent podcast episode as she learned for the first time that her former friends Shane Dawson and Rylan Adams are having twins. Her co-host Oscar ended up asking Trisha about how she felt about them and how she would possibly feel if they ever were to reach out to her. And if you guys remember, this friendship fallout was a pretty big one, as a lot of people never expected Shane to side with Jeffree Star over his longtime best friend Trisha. But that's basically what happened. It all went down a couple years ago, starting when Jeffree and Trisha and some of his friends and employees took a trip to Vegas. Trisha ended up leaving that trip early and at the time didn't go into too many details as to why. But later on, one of Jeffree's former friends on the trip came out in a video exposing Jeffree and his team, saying they were being really mean to someone on the trip behind their back, shaming their weight, skin, hair, and much more. Everyone felt in their gut that this was about Trisha. She denied it at first, but over time began to open up about the end of her friendship with Jeffree. Eventually, it all came out because Jeffree's wig guy, Hair by Jay, did a live stream where he ended up going off on Trisha, shaming her, calling her names, and admitted to making fun of her on this trip to Vegas. Trisha then ended up posting a video where she explained that Jeffree and those on the Vegas trip did make her feel bad, and that's why she left early. And she said that she was just trying to keep the peace and stay quiet. She didn't want to come out and expose Jeffree and say that, he made her feel this way because Shane and Rylan were still very close with Jeffree, and she didn't want it to be weird if they had a wedding and she had to see Jeffree there. But she felt like Jeffree had been giving mean girl energy towards her, and she vented about this to Rylan and Shane, but they continued their friendship with Jeffree, which really hurt Trisha. Once this all was very public, everyone knew how hurtful this was to Trisha, and even though not everyone liked her at the time, they knew that she stuck by Jeffree and Shane through their cancellation, defending them and saying that she still loved them. She had been loyal to them despite everything, and people were just shocked that they were not the same way back towards her, especially Shane. Rylan even ended up defending Jeffree on his own podcast, and it just became clear to everyone that they weren't going to stop being friends with Jeffree. Trisha stopped being friends with Shane and Rylan and Jeffree, but in this podcast episode, she was talking about how so much has changed for her in life since that time, and that the situation just isn't really important in her mind, and she's forgotten things about it. And she brought up how Jeffree Star recently called her out for saying that she forgot what happened between them when she was asked about their falling out on a podcast, which when Trisha tried to downplay their falling out, Jeffree snapped on her online and said that she said all these lies about him, tried to ruin his life.
Did we fall out? Sometimes I forget.
You don't remember if we had beef? You don't remember how we had a falling out? Literally made up the most vicious lies about me and tried to ruin my life. And at the time, everyone was bored and people entertained her lies. It was so horrible for my mental health. And this says you don't remember.
And when Trisha reacted to what he said at the time, she said that she was just trying to be nice and saying that she didn't remember what happened between them as to not bring it all up again. But when talking about Shane and Rylan in this recent podcast, and if she ever could see a reconnection, she ended up acknowledging Jeffree Star calling her out for seemingly forgetting what happened between them, and said that it's not that she forgets, it's just that time has passed, life is different, and it's just not the biggest thing to her anymore.
And I know for me, and I've gotten in trouble saying this before, I forget so many things because it's life now is so different. And so that doesn't take away if I've hurt somebody or hurt their feelings or whatever. And honestly, I really have to think about the situation. I kind of know for me what was the hurtful part that where I was I'm over this friendship. But even when I think about that, I'm and maybe they perceive it a totally different way. Maybe they think that I really betrayed them or something. I don't know what it is, but it's anything though. It's even when I said, we can say it's whatever, it's fine, whatever. When I said the thing about Jeffree where I was I forgot, it's obviously don't forget, but it's so not a part of my life. And it's something that I don't even think about because it's my life now and who I am now is so different.
Clearly Jeffree is still getting worked up about it, so it's a big deal to him, but Trisha seemingly has moved on from this period in her life, and she says that it's just not ever going to go back to how it was if she did connect with Shane and Rylan. She says that too much time has passed for them to really be friends like they were, feeling like if they were to try and go back to that, she would always wonder in the back of her mind if they were talking bad about her or something. But she talks about how the whole thing is sad because she loved Shane and always thought so highly of him as a friend that was there for her, and their friendship ending was not something that she thought would happen.
The one person who I thought will be in my life forever is Shane. The one person I was like, this person has my back, who really has loved me through all my cancellations, was like there for me, told me like everything's gonna be okay, was the first guest on my first solo podcast. Like just anytime I needed him in a vlog or anything, like he would like show up. So it's like that was like such a hard friendship. And I do think about this. I think about this a lot. And maybe not like all the time now, but it was for a minute where I was like, oh, if he emailed me, like around the wedding or something like that, I thought, oh, should I invite him and stuff like that? Because it's like he was such a big part of my life. But I feel like too much time has passed, if that makes sense. Like too much has shifted. Everything has changed. And because my life is on such a good trajectory now, it's like, do I go back? Do they want that? You know what I mean? There's toxic, there's toxicity that was happened in the past. Can you truly forget it and move on? I know like I could, but being an overthinker, I would just think like, oh, maybe they can't, maybe they still have some sort of resentment towards me. Maybe they still look at me side eye.
Trisha just seems so far removed from the situation, which is crazy. I mean, if you would have told me like a couple years ago that out of Rylan, Shane, and Jeffree and Trisha, that Trisha would be like the calmest talking about a friendship ending, I just like wouldn't have been able to believe that, given that she used to just like freak out and cry and like react online about every former friend that she had or any situation or any sort of drama that she was in. But she was seemingly talking about it so calm and like together and level-headed. And I was like, it's just crazy. Like how different things are. Like she's so moved on from the situation that I think bringing that back into her life, like being friends with Shane and Rylan again, it would just cause drama and disrupt her peace, because Shane and Jeffree are still so close, and clearly Jeffree still has feelings of sorts because of the way that he went off on her not too long ago, just because she didn't remember what went down. And like, who wants to be associated with that kind of energy? Except for Shane, I guess. Like Shane is still team Jeffree. But Trisha is open to being on good terms with Shane and Rylan. Not friends really, but she did say that she's open to good terms, as she joked about them coming on her podcast.
It's hard. If it was like perfect world, everyone could be forgiven. I know I've forgiven. If everyone's like, okay, like that was a long time ago, like everything's forgiven. Yes, because I would, oh my gosh, like especially seeing someone in their like parent era is so beautiful. And like, especially the first year they say is the toughest. And I totally agree, because now that she's over a year, oh my God, now she's just like fun, chill. It's like she has a personality. The first year is tough, but there's so much change that's happening. And it's just so like, I'm excited to have another baby just so I can enjoy it more, because it's like, it goes by so fast. But in the moment you think like, oh my God, it's gonna last forever. So I think just seeing someone like with their new babies and stuff is such a beautiful thing. And I think I know they'll be good parents. I don't know. I'd be open to it if they come on the Gestures podcast. Just kidding. I would be open to it.
Trisha also did acknowledge how her content has changed over the years, and how she would not make the same videos today that she made in the past, and that she's embarrassed by how she was so angry and how reactive she was online before she had kids.
Sometimes I'm like embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, like it's embarrassed. Like it is. That's why YouTube can be like a blessing and a curse, because sometimes I'm like, that's so embarrassing. And sometimes it's like endearing, but like some of the ones where I'm like crying and I'm just like, oh my God, like what? Like I would never do that now, like putting out all my emotions on the internet. It's like totally fine if you want to do that and stuff like that. But it's just like, wow, I like couldn't keep it together. It's very weird. Or just the yelling and the aggression and but what I noticed in my eyes was always just like, I was always just really sad. And that's what I like always reiterate. It's just like, I was just sad. I was just like lonely. I just never had someone. I was just always sad. So I think that was like more than anything. So like, I think the anger and all that stuff like that came from that, if I'm like psychoanalyzing myself. But yeah, it's crazy. And I always think, oh, like I didn't change that much having a kid and stuff like that. But like, it just doesn't. I don't know.
I wonder if Shane and Rylan would even consider going on Trisha's podcast. Like, how would that even be? It seems like Trisha would be nice and cordial, but who knows how those two are thinking about things these days, especially since they are so close with Jeffree Star. Like, what are they saying about her? I really wonder. But let me know what you guys think, and if you could see them all having a little reunion in the future. Imagine like all four of them sat down on Trisha's podcast. Like, I think that video would blow up, but I don't think it would ever happen. Even though Trisha said that she would be fine even if Jeffree were to sit in front of her.
I know for me, I literally could move past anything. Jeffree Star could sit here and like, I would be fine. Like I would be fine. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things I don't forgive for sure. Certain people in my life, and I either just don't talk about them or like just cut it out completely. You know what I mean? So like if I talk about someone, I move past it. It's not something so, there was no lives ruined over it. You know, if there was, I just don't talk about that person.
But we've clearly seen how Jeffree can still get worked up about things regarding Trisha. But let me know what you guys think about the possibility of that happening in the comments, and everything else that Trisha had to say. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys. Bye.